Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of our deep dive program. This is something that we're going to try for a while to give an opportunity for different ones of us as staff to talk about particular areas of ministry that are going on here at DCC and maybe help you see some things behind the scenes. This may take different forms. We may do some interviews. We may do just some one-on-one talks. So it's a pretty open format. We don't even have a set time for it. Some of these may be brief, some may be longer, but just a chance for you to stay apprised of what's going on here within the life of DCC. For our first evening, I wanted to take time to talk to you about the project that we have called DC Campus 2.0. And for those of you that are newer to Dungeness Community Church and you're not sure exactly what that's all about, let me just give you a little bit of background. Back in 2019, we began looking at the growth going on here at the church. Lots of new people that God was bringing through our doors, becoming part of our ministry, which was really exciting. It is exciting. But we also were feeling the squeeze in terms of our facilities, in particular on Sunday mornings. And we identified several places where we especially felt that. Our entryway in the auditorium is quite small and became a real choke point in and out of the building. We were needing more seating for more people. And how do we accommodate those additional people? We already were running 2 services that were at pretty full capacity. How do we accommodate Christian ed needs for our children and our youth? And so the elders started praying, talking about this, looking at options. We had some meetings with the church body as a whole, talking about different options, getting input on all of this. And we looked at everything from doing extra services, maybe some evening services, midweek services, more Sunday morning services. We looked at ways to enlarge the auditorium. We looked at building a new education building. We even went so far as to look at what it would mean if we were to sell this campus and start a whole new campus. And looking at all of those different options and others, we decided that what made the most sense, rather than getting involved in some high-dollar major building project, that we were going to instead do an upgrade to our existing facility. One of the things that we are very blessed with is that our facility, our property here is all owned free and clear, which is what has freed us to do a lot of other things ministry-wise that churches oftentimes find themselves, saddled paying for property debt. And I did not want to see our church become saddled with some kind of a large debt campaign just for physical buildings. And so what we decided to do instead is this project that we've called DC Campus 2.0. And let me just show you what that involved. The plans were that we would enlarge the entryway to the auditorium, since that was one of the choke points that we knew we needed to clear up. We also wanted to take the large AV booth there in the auditorium and relocate it. The plan was to actually knock a hole through the back wall and move that into a kind of its own room behind the auditorium, which would then free up both more traffic space and more seating space there in the auditorium for pretty minimal dollars. We wanted to purchase an easy lift for the auditorium. And we'll talk more about that later, but why that was an important thing for us to get. There was a sidewalk out in front of the chapel that needed to be widened. We wanted to upgrade our street signage for better visibility. Enhancing exterior lighting, both lighting out in the parking lot and lighting right around the buildings themselves. We wanted to do some enhancements on the upper parking area, the gravel parking area, what we have affectionately dubbed adventure parking. And we wanted to cover the short walkway that goes between the auditorium and the chapel. Now that's not the main sidewalk out front. There is a short little span in the back. I guess that would be the northwest corner of the auditorium. There's double doors there that if you go out, there's a side entrance into the chapel, and we wanted to put a cover over that. We also wanted to relocate and refurbish our portable building. Our portable building was being used mostly for storage at this point, but because of some things we wanted to do in making more room for children's ministries, we wanted to get it back into use, turn it back into classrooms, and part of that meant relocating it closer to the auditorium. And the other reason for needing to relocate it is that there was one building we wanted to construct, and that was a storage unit. We have had a real problem having enough storage space for all of our different ministries. And in looking around, we decided that the most economical way to give ourselves the storage space that we needed was to actually, in fact, I'll show you where it's going to go. This is a picture of our campus. The red line here, those are our property boundaries. And right now, there was a portable building sitting behind the chapel. And maybe you can see where I'm pointing there. What we wanted to do is to take that portable out and in its place put in this large storage building. And this is the building we want to put in. And you can see this is a metal mini storage building with individual bays. And fortunately, we have people in our church, the Frickholms and the Shasmas, that are very involved in the mini storage business. So they know the contractors, they know the people that do this. And by going with this plan of putting in a mini storage building, we could give each ministry kind of their own area to manage. And so that was the plan, to put in that mini storage building. So what was it going to cost? Well, back in September of 2019, we added it up and decided that that project would cost about $275,000. And we already had $175,000 that we felt was available out of our savings that we could put toward that project, which left us with $100,000 to raise. And that seemed much more prudent than some of the building options that would have been well over $1 million, maybe $2 million and up, depending on which option you went with. Of course, now, in retrospect, knowing what we know about 2020 and the impact that COVID has had, it becomes even more apparent that I believe we made the right choice in choosing to stay conservative in how we were trying to meet our needs. So we put that out before the church body and asked people if they would give toward raising that $100,000. And I thought I would play for you a video clip that was recorded. This was in September of 2019. I was getting ready to go to the Philippines. I was going to be a speaker at a pastor's conference there. Mike Jones, who is the pastor emeritus from Independent Bible Church in Port Angeles, was going to be filling the pulpit for me that day. But before I left town, I had received word of how much money had been raised. And I thought it might be fun just to play for you the announcement that I had recorded back then for a Sunday morning to let our church family know what was going on. Here's what I had to say at that time. Well, good morning, everybody. It's Pastor Tim. And right now it's actually Monday, September 30th. I have not yet left for the Philippines. By the time you see this video, I should be in the Philippines. But I wanted to take a minute to update all of you on where things ended up for DC Campus 2.0. As you know, during the month of September, we were looking to raise $100,000 to add to the $175,000 we already had in reserve to help with our building remodeling and expansion plans. And so we asked all of you to pray about it, to contribute. And I just got the word from the office that as of today, you have given $150,000. So thank you very much. I just can't say thank you enough for your generosity, for all of the ways people have volunteered to pitch in and help over and above giving money. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this project get completed. Wish I was there in person to share this with you, but I just wanted to be sure that you got the word that God has provided through your generosity. And I know you're going to have a great morning there with Pastor Mike. Mike, thank you so much for sharing the word this morning. And hope you'll keep me in your prayers as I'm here in the Philippines sharing with a whole group of pastors. See you soon. Bye. Well, that was September 2019, and the project got underway. We're going to talk some more toward the end about one of the real key people that helped us get all of this rolling. But then came COVID-19. And when that started, when the lockdown started, there was a lot of uncertainty about what the impact was going to be financially on people. Our elders talked about it and recognized we might have families in our church that were going to be hard hit financially. And so we decided to pause the project at that point and just wait. We weren't sure about what maybe some of the surplus funds that we had might be needed by people that were really hurting. As it turned out, there actually were not any great needs within our church body that were brought to us. And so after a hiatus of about 2 to 3 months, we gave the go-ahead to start up with DC Campus 2.0 again. Of course, that's been slow because everything has been slow due to COVID-19. It took us months to get some of the engineering work done that normally could have been done in weeks. The same thing was true for architectural work. And then everything had to go to the county for permitting, and the permitting process has been very, very slow. So a lot of things have not progressed anywhere near the speed that we anticipated. We thought that we would have had this project done by early summer. And here we are back, January, still with some significant parts of this project that have not even been started. But I wanted to bring you up to date on what has been accomplished and what we have been able to do so far. So why don't we go out? Let me take you on a little walk and show you a few things. Well, we will start our little tour out here right at the road, looking at our new sign. You may recall that the old sign faced parallel to the road, so you really couldn't see it until you were actually driving by our property. What we've done is we took that old sign, we had it fully refurbished, did a beautiful job. Miller Signs did that for us. And then we had a second sign built just like it, and now they sit at a 45-degree angle, both sides, so that you can see it from either direction. We also removed at least one of the trees out here in front to give us better visibility. And then we had a nice bed built up around this. And so a big thanks to Forrest Miller and Larry Van Sealis and his crew and Terry Sage for a lot of work they did out here. Also James Barbaras, who put the lights up on this. We're still working on the lights. We got a couple of dark spots on the sign, but that'll get done soon. Another improvement that we made was widening the sidewalk that is in front of the chapel building. The original sidewalk was so narrow that you had to walk single file. This new sidewalk is NOAA approved. You can walk 2 by 2. By the way, before I leave the front of the chapel area here, I should mention that if you ever look at how nicely all the shrubs are out in front of the building here, just so nicely manicured, that's thanks to Terry Sage, our custodian. And he does a great job of keeping our facility looking so good, and we really appreciate his work. Part of the project wasn't just building things, it was taking things away. We are going to be putting in a new storage building, and I will talk some more about that once we get back inside. But in order to make room for that new storage building here behind the chapel, we had to first remove the portable building that was sitting here. Not only the portable, but there were also, I guess it was 3 sheds. There was a Conex box, one of those metal containers, and then 2 sheds, and those all had to be removed to make room for the new building. And the portable now has been moved into the upper parking lot. You can see it sitting right up there, along with the Conex box, and the sheds then were hauled away. And I got to say a big thank you to Dan Breithaupt, because he did a lot of work in helping us to get the sheds moved out of the way. Now that we have the sheds moved out and the portable moved out of the way, you can see better one of the problems that we have to address before we put in the new metal storage building, and that is all of the groundwater that we have. If you look right here, you can see all this standing water. That's not just because it's been raining. This area back here, we have a lot of water that comes down from the hillside above us, groundwater, and it starts to pool up in here. We have a French drain that was put in all along here years ago. We don't think it's working so well anymore, and part of the work that we've been doing is the engineering work to create a new drainage system to keep the water out of here. And I'll talk more about that when we get back inside. Well, this probably isn't a view that you are used to seeing very often. We are up in the top of the auditorium by some of our stage lights. Back in the old days, the only way to get up here was to put together some manual scaffolding, which meant we had to build it from the floor up. Not only was it difficult, it also was kind of dangerous. So what we normally did was, if we saw light bulbs burning out, we waited until there were a few of them burned out, because it was so much work to get up here. One of the things that we made part of DC Campus 2.0 was the purchase of this Easy Lift, which makes it easy to get up here. I really can't tell you how much we appreciate those of us who have ever had to do any work up in the ceiling of this room, or painting, servicing speakers, lights, decorations, how much we appreciate having this new tool. So thank you for all of you who made that possible. Well, let me show you something else that has been a new addition for us. This wasn't originally part of DC Campus, but during this year it has certainly become an important thing that we have added, and that is our new video studio. This used to be, I believe it was room 4 for our children. With the new portable that we're going to be refurbishing, we're going to still have the classroom space, but we had to turn this into a functioning video studio. So you've seen this a lot on Sunday mornings, and if you watch DCC today, but you probably haven't seen all of the stuff behind the camera. And we've been able to put together a pretty good studio setup. Again, the money for this did not come directly out of the DC Campus 2.0 funds. We had several special gifts that came in that made this possible, and we really appreciate the capability that it's given to us. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the things that are going on. There is one more part of the tour that I want to just give you some more before and after images of, and that has to do with our kitchen. That is probably the most significant thing that we have gotten done to date, and we're pretty excited about it. Even though we can't fully use it right now, as soon as things open up, we are really excited to get to use this new kitchen. Let me just show you a few of the before pictures of what the kitchen looked like and what it looks like now. Well, here are some shots that were taken inside our kitchen before the remodel project started. There you can see the old electric stove. As I recall, I believe only one burner was still working on top of that stove. Here's what the center island looked like. And over there at the far side, you can see there was a little coffee station set up. Take a look at the floor here. Look what bad shape that flooring is in. Down at the end there, you can see a double oven. Only one of those ovens was still working. And then this is my favorite end in terms of looking at before and after pictures of the kitchen. This shows the wash sinks And in particular, that beautiful dishwasher. Isn't that a monstrosity? It worked most of the time. I think it only sparked and made flames once, but yeah, that poor thing was on its last legs. So now take a look at the new kitchen, what it's looking like. Well, here it is, the new kitchen. Let me show you around. We'll start down here with the new sinks. Got a 3-basin wash sink, and then down at the end here, a new hand washing sink. One of the items in the kitchen that a number of you are going to really appreciate is this brand new dishwasher. And I showed you the picture of the old thing that we had. This new old dishwasher is very efficient, very fast, will do a great job for us when we're feeding large groups of people. Speaking of sinks and things to wash with, there is a brand new work sink right here at the end of the center island. And that brings me to the center island. Look at that. It's now an all stainless steel top here. Of course, we've got new cabinet faces all around. One of the things that I'm real excited about in this kitchen is the new floor. That old floor was looking pretty bad, and you can tell we now have a nice new floor. If you recall the old stove I was talking about earlier, only one burner was working on it, and the oven didn't work. So it was really just kind of a large hot plate. But this is now a 6-burner stove. It's propane, so gas, a lot faster, more efficient, and a good working oven underneath. But that's not our only oven. Over here, we have a brand new double oven. You may recall that our other double oven, only one of the ovens was still working, but now we have 2 good working ovens. You may notice the countertops around here. This gray material, it is a synthetic man-made countertop. This is a brand new material that has just come out. It is quite a bit thicker than other synthetic materials, and it's easy to repair if it ever needs to be repaired. One thing that we're still waiting to get completed would be the backsplashes here on the counters. You can tell where the yellow is. That is where old backsplashes were peeled away. The new material should be arriving sometime next week, and at that point we will have this room just about finished up. There's still a little bit of painting to do, but all of the major appliances and things are now installed. Well, there have been a lot of people who have played a role in putting this kitchen together, and really the project overall. And I just want to say thank you to some folks. This is always dangerous when you start thanking people, because I am sure that there is someone who has contributed that I am forgetting their name. And so I'll just say right up front, I apologize if that happens to be you. But some of the people that came to mind as I thought about this project were Rosalie DiMaggio and Paul Wessler and Forrest Miller. They did much of the initial work in determining what we needed to bring this kitchen up to speed. Also, Willis and Greta Beitzel. Willis and Greta have done a lot of the labor, the contracting work in all parts of this project, and for sure in this kitchen. They have put in a lot of work bringing this all together. Terry Sage and Forrest Miller and Larry Van Sealis and his crew were the guys that put together that new signage out front. James Barbaras also helped us put that together. James also helped us in bringing in the Easy Lift that we purchased. He trailered it up, checked the thing out, made sure it was in good working condition. Dan Breithaupt, we had to get rid of some of those sheds that were outside, and Dan pitched in and helped make those things go away. Ryan Shaftsma, the new storage building. Ryan, because of his work with All Safe Mini Storage, I have all the contacts and has been very helpful in getting that lined up and helping us pick the right building for that. Randy Van Osdale did some of the electrical work here in the kitchen. Very much appreciate his help with that. The Thursday Men's Group, the Thursday Men's Bible Study Group, I believe they were the ones that came in and helped haul away a lot of the old stuff that needed to be stripped out of this kitchen. So guys, thank you for lending us your backs for that. Gary Flussner, I have to give a big thank you to Gary Flussner. He took on the task of shepherding our permits through the county, did a wonderful job with that. He also went through all of the blueprints that we have for this building, this property, that have been collected over the last 30 plus years, and organized all of that for us. So Gary, thank you so much for taking on that job. Dale Arvison and Shane Simonson put in a lot of work on the video studio, picking out the equipment we need and getting that all put together. Again, Willis and Greta did a lot of the work as well, putting the studio together. Big thank you to Noel Carey. When we first were trying to decide what to do for enlarging the entryway, some of the options out there were pretty expensive. Noel came down on his own, looked things over, came back and said, hey, I have an idea for how we can get the space for minimal dollars. And he was right. And because of Noel's input, we have saved some significant money, will be saving significant money as we get that enlargement done on the entryway. Chuck Bishop. Chuck Bishop has helped us with various contacts, people we've needed to bring in, and Chuck, really appreciate your help on all of that. And then all of you who have made this project possible, everyone who has given toward DC Campus 2.0, none of this would have happened without your generosity. So thank you all very much, and hopefully the day will come very soon that we can all enjoy a meal together out of this beautiful new kitchen. Well, pretty fun to see that change, isn't it? It'll be great to start using that facility. So where are we at now? What are the next steps? Well, there are a few things that have changed in our thinking as the months have gone by. One of those has to do with moving the AV booth in the auditorium. We don't think that the pressure is going to be quite the same in terms of crowds, even once restrictions are lifted related to COVID-19. So we've decided that for the time being, we're going to leave the AV booth where it is. Of course, in place of that, we did add that video studio that I was showing you. And that was quite an investment there. However, the video studio did not require any of the money from DC Campus 2.0. We actually had several very generous special gifts. They weren't even asked for, just things that the Lord blessed us with. Some of them came specifically to help us with the video ministry, and they paid for everything there in the video studio. So we have been able to do that without incurring any costs against DC Campus 2.0. The upgrade on the upper parking lot, the gravel area, not sure if that's going to happen or not. We need to see how other costs come in. During the pandemic, the cost of a lot of construction materials has gone up. And so we may need some of the money we plan to spend on the gravel parking area to help us with the auditorium entryway expansion. So that one, we're just going to wait and see how that comes together. The next steps for us, well, the first big one is one that is out of our hands, but that is waiting for the permits to get finalized and approved by the county. And so really not much more can happen until those permits get back to us. As far as we know, everything has been submitted to the county that needs to be submitted. The fees have been paid. Now we just need for them to finish processing those. Once that's done, the next significant thing we have to do is deal with the groundwater issues. I showed you some pictures of where the portable building was sitting and all the water that's out there. And as I mentioned when we were outside, we need to get the French drain redone across the back of the property. There are also some, what's the right term for it? I want to say sump pump, not a sump pump, it's like a dry well that will collect water and then creating a drainage system that will move that out. And so that's the first thing, is to get all that soils engineering work done to dry up that work site. Once that's done, then we're ready to pour the cement pad for the storage building. Now, we are into winter, and so with the cold, with the wet, we will see what impact that has. We might have to wait for things to warm up and dry out a bit before we can do that pad. The building itself has already been ordered. In fact, the parts for it are stored for us. I think it's in California, and it's just waiting for us to get the pad in so that we can have it shipped up and then have that erected. So once that cement pad is done, the erection of that building is going to go very quickly. The other big piece that we're waiting on then, and we need the permits in order to start, is the expansion of the entryway. We'd kind of like to do that after the storage building is erected, because then we can use the storage building for staging materials while we are doing that expansion. I'm not sure that those two things necessarily have to be linked together, but that's what we would like to do. That's the plan. Some of the other peripheral things, like upgrading the lighting in the parking lot, we will get to that, but it is not as high a priority for us as getting that storage building in and getting the auditorium entryway completed. In some ways, it'd be really nice if we could get the auditorium work done before we start meeting back in person on a large scale, just because it's a lot easier for all the tear out that needs to happen there to not have a lot of people going in and out on a weekly basis. But we will see how this all comes together. So that's where we're at on the project itself. I told you that there was an individual that had been real key to us in this, and that was Forrest Miller. Forrest and Shelley actually were quite new to DCC when this was all in its early stages. Burnett and I had dinner with them one evening, and as we were talking, I found out that Forrest's background was as a project manager for building construction of elementary schools in the Seattle area. Forrest had overseen the construction of, I think it was 33 different schools. And so he came here with this incredible resume of handling construction projects. And so as we were talking a few weeks later, I've been praying about this, thinking about who was going to oversee this for us and manage it. I approached Forrest and I said, would you consider being our project manager? And Forrest very quickly came back and said he'd be happy to help us with that. And he has done a tremendous job for us in managing all of this. And we're going to talk with him in a few minutes. I want to get him on Zoom. But Forrest has actually had to step back from managing the project for us. This did drag on a lot longer than any of us thought. And Forrest still has some consulting work that he does, and one of his paying clients is demanding more of his time. And so we also found someone that I think is going to do a great job for us now that we're into the construction phase, taking us across the finish line. And I'll introduce you to him in just a few minutes. Before we get into the interview with Forrest, I want to talk about a little gift that we got for him. He did so much work and just volunteered his time, and we could not have got this project going without him. And I was trying to think of what could we do just to thank him for that. And I happen to know that Forrest is a really good chef. He may be a project manager by trade, but his hobby, his passion in cooking, he could have easily made a career out of being a chef. And I know that he enjoys that a lot. And something else that we have in our church is a custom knife maker, Dan Bidinger. In fact, I think I'm going to get Dan on the line here with a Zoom call, and we're just going to talk about knives a little bit. So let me see if I can get Dan. Dan, thanks for taking my call. Tell us how you got into making knives.
I always liked knives. I grew up, carrying knives and stuff like that, but it was always something that other people did, not me. And then I met a knife maker while I was in Dubai. and he made knives for one of the, I don't know, sheikhs or something over there, and got to know him, and he just, yeah, I don't know. He inspired me to think of it as something that I could pursue, I guess. So it was very helpful in the starting phases, starting out.
So when did you actually make your first knife?
I made my first knife in 2015, but then I didn't really touch it for a few years. I made a few right before moving back to the U.S., and then I started doing it full time almost 2 years ago. So yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the knife that you've made for Forrest.
It's a stainless steel chef's knife with cocobolo wood for the handle, which I sourced from a guitar maker in the area. And yeah, so it's a, I want to say, it's a 9-inch chef knife, and very fine edge, very performance-based tool, not uh, not an axe or a cleaver, but a very fine edged for very efficient cutting.
I'm sure that Forrest is going to love it, and thank you so much for making it. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, so I am really excited that we've got this very cool custom gift for Forrest. He doesn't know it's coming. We're going to do a little Zoom interview with Forrest, and if all goes well, by the time we finish the interview, we're going to be able to present that knife to him. And so let's go to that interview with Forrest now. Well, hey everybody, I was going to get Forrest on a Zoom call, but then he and I got texting, and it turned out he was coming down to the church. So we came outside here. We have some nice distancing, so we don't have to wear our masks. And I just wanted to get Forrest on camera because you've been like the guy managing this project for us for, gosh, how many months has it been now?
Since October of 2019.
Yeah, which we thought it was going to be done a lot sooner, but then this whole pandemic thing happened.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, well, Forrest, you have done a fantastic job. We very much appreciate all the effort that you've put into this and the expertise you brought to it. And of course, now you're handing it off because life has gotten busier for you in other avenues.
Yes.
But as a way of just saying thank you, if you would go back over on that table right over there, there's something underneath that piece of black plastic. Why don't you go ahead and bring that out?
Black plastic or just the...
Let's see if I got you on the camera. Yeah, just the black plastic. There you go. And you can open that up.
Whoa, this is nice.
Yeah, now don't hurt yourself with that. That is really sharp.
That's a beautiful, beautiful handle.
I've already told everybody on camera about this. That is a knife that was made by Dan Bidinger. You know Dan?
No, I don't.
Dan goes to our church, makes custom knives.
Oh, wow.
And that is a new kitchen knife because we know that you are pretty handy in the kitchen.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Wow.
So, well, thank you for all you've done.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
All right, let's go back inside. Well, Forrest, again, thank you so much for everything that you have done for us. And I told you I'd introduce you to the person who's going to kind of take over the project now, managing it going forward, and that is Dennis Taylor. And Dennis comes with a long and deep history in construction, and so he's going to be a great guy to help us finish it. I'm going to get Dennis on the line as well, and let's have a little interview with him. Well, so this is Dennis Taylor. And Dennis, you've been doing building for a long time. We were talking about this a few minutes ago. About how many years do you think you've been building things?
Oh, 20, 25 years.
All right. And you just attempted to retire from building, didn't you?
Yes.
And I think as soon as you said you're going to retire, Chuck Bishop and I took you out to lunch and said, what would you think about managing the rest of this project for us?
That is correct.
So that was our retirement gift to you.
A hamburger.
Well, I'm very appreciative that you agreed to do it. And I just want people to know your name and see your face, because as we move into this, you may be needing some help and volunteers and things, and wanted folks to know who you are.
Okay.
So we really appreciate you stepping in and doing this.
Well, I think it's going to be a challenge, but, you know, I like a challenge.
That's great.
So I'm hoping I can accomplish what we need to accomplish.
Cool. Well, Dennis, thank you so much, and I'll let you get back to your evening.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Bye.
Well, there you go. That is where we are at as of now with DC Campus 2.0. Thank you to all of you who gave to this project to make it possible, to many of you who have already volunteered time in helping us get it done, and more of you I know are going to be involved. And keep praying as we move through this project. Our goal is not to have a lot of buildings. Our goal is to be about doing the work of the gospel, loving people, sharing God's word, doing what Jesus has called us to do. Why don't we wrap up our time this evening with a word of prayer? Father, I thank you for just your very kind blessings to us. I thank you for the people of this church body that so often and regularly give generously, that allows this ministry to go forward. Thank you for allowing us to be in a place where we don't have debt. And I pray, Father, that you will continue to give us wisdom in how we use the resources you've given us. I pray that every part of this facility would be used to the glory and honor of Jesus. And Father, I pray that you would use us in this community, Lord, not that we would be centered on what happens on this campus, but that this would be the place that you launch us from to make a difference here in the Sequim Valley. So thank you for where you brought us, and we ask for your help, your guidance in the days ahead. And we pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks for joining me for this first ever deep dive. I hope you found it helpful, and we'll look forward to the next time around.